All right, let's dive deep today. We're exploring Ayurveda.
Sounds good.
Specifically, we're going to untangle the tri-doshas,
Okay.
Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, those biological energies.
Right.
Ayurveda says those energies are running the show behind the scenes
Yeah.
of our health and well-being.
Yeah. And the cool thing is we're not just talking about abstract concepts.
Right.
I mean, these doshas are actually linked to the elements.
Yeah, totally. It's like Ayurveda gives us this framework
That's right.
to actually understand our internal world.
Yeah.
So Vata is all about air and space.
Uh-huh.
Pitta brings fire and water.
Yeah.
And Kapha is earth and water.
Right.
But how do those elements translate into, like, our personality?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting.
Yep.
Each dosha has its own set of qualities and governs specific functions in the body. So, for instance, like Vata. Vata is all about movement and lightness, just like the wind. So it kind of makes sense that it controls things like circulation, breathing, and even nerve impulses.
So that feeling of butterflies when you're nervous, is that Vata doing its thing?
Precisely. But, Vata's influence goes beyond just the physical. It's linked to creativity, quick thinking, adaptability. Think about that friend who's always bursting with ideas. They can go with the flow in any situation. They probably have a strong Vata energy.
So when Vata is balanced, it's like having this superpower.
Absolutely. But what happens when it gets out of whack?
Yeah, what happens?
Well, then you start to see things like anxiety, insomnia, even digestive issues like constipation. It's like the wind turns into a whirlwind. It can make you feel scattered and ungrounded.
That makes total sense. And, with our world, constant hustle and information overload.
It's no wonder that our Vata might be, a little hyped up.
Yeah, a little bit. So Pitta, that fiery energy. What about Pitta?
Well, think about metabolism. Digestion, but also ambition. That drive to achieve. Pitta is like that inner fire. That fuels transformation in all its forms.
So if Vata is the artist, then Pitta is the go-getter.
You got it. A balanced Pitta. It gives you sharp intellect, strong digestion, and the confidence to take charge. But when Pitta gets too intense, it can manifest as inflammation, skin issues, even that short-fused temper.
Right. It's all about finding that balance, right?
Absolutely.
What about Kapha?
Kapha.
We've got the whirlwind, the fire.
Right.
How does Kapha bring us back down to earth?
Kapha is all about stability and structure. Provides lubrication, strengthens immunity, promotes emotional steadiness. Wow. Think of it as the glue that holds everything together.
So Kapha's the steady friend.
Exactly. They're calm in a crisis. They offer a sense of peace. Physically, balanced Kapha contributes to strong bones, healthy joints, that effortless endurance.
But too much of a good thing, right? Too much could be a problem.
Imagine that grounding energy becoming too stuck. You might see things like weight gain, sluggish digestion, feeling a little bit emotionally down. Or stagnant.
So it sounds like each dosha has its own set of strengths and weaknesses. And the key is to understand our own personal mix. And how to keep them in harmony.
Exactly.
But how do we even figure out our dosha dominance?
Well, there are actually a few ways to assess your dosha constitution. Some people turn to Ayurvedic practitioners. But there are also questionnaires and self-assessment tools available. And as we go deeper, you'll probably recognize some patterns and qualities within yourself.
So as we unpack these doshas further, our listeners will get some clues.
That's right.
So they can start piecing together their own Ayurvedic puzzle.
Exactly. It's all about becoming more aware of your inner landscape.
Totally. I'm already feeling more in tune with these energies just by talking about it.
Great.
So before we move on to the nitty-gritty of imbalances and what we can do, let's spend a little more time exploring each dosha in its balanced state. What does it mean to truly thrive as a Vata, Pitta, or Kapha individual?
That's a great question. And it's a crucial foundation
Yeah.
for understanding how to address imbalances. So let's start with Vata. So when Vata is balanced, you're like a creative whirlwind, but in a good way.
Okay.
You're able to tap into all those bursts of energy, you know?
Yeah.
And inspiration, think outside the box, come up with innovative solutions that others might miss.
So it's like riding the waves of energy, but not getting swept away.
Exactly. A balanced Vata is adaptable and thrives on change. They're the life of the party, the friend who can always make you laugh, and they just bring a sense of lightness and joy.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
But I imagine it takes some effort to cultivate that balance.
It does, but it's worth it.
Okay.
Now let's shift gears to Pitta.
Okay.
Imagine having a strong digestive fire. You could eat anything and feel great.
Okay, I like where this is going. Tell me more about balanced Pitta.
Balanced Pitta is a powerhouse. They've got this drive and focus, and they can achieve their goals. They inspire others along the way. They're natural leaders, problem solvers, and they have a warmth and charisma that draws people in.
So they're not just all fire and intensity. There's a softer side.
Absolutely. Think about the warmth of the sun.
Yeah.
It can be intense, but it's also essential.
Right.
So balanced Pitta brings that same kind of energy. They're passionate and driven, but also nurturing and supportive.
I'm starting to see how these doshas are more than physical energies.
They are.
They influence our whole being.
Right. And finally, let's explore Kapha in its balanced state. Imagine feeling grounded, stable, deeply content.
Ooh, that sounds nice. Sign me up.
Balanced Kapha is like a steady mountain. They have the strength and resilience. They can weather any storm. They're loyal, compassionate, and they have this calming presence that puts everyone at ease.
So they're the rock, the anchor.
Exactly. They bring harmony and stability to their relationships and their environment. And physically, they have this natural strength and endurance, like a long-distance runner who just keeps going and going.
This is fascinating. We've got the creative spark, the transformative fire, and the grounding stability. It paints a picture of how these energies work together.
It does, but of course life happens and things get out of balance.
Right.
That's where we start to see the symptoms and the health challenges.
Right. Okay, so let's get into that. You mentioned modern life can throw our doshas off. What are some of those things?
Well, think about the pace of life. We're constantly bombarded with information deadlines, expectations. That kind of stimulation can really aggravate Vata and lead to that feeling of being overwhelmed.
So our nervous systems are just on overdrive.
Exactly. And for Pitta, that competitive drive and ambition, which is a good thing, it can tip over into workaholism and burnout.
It's that always-on mentality.
Precisely. And then for Kapha, it's that tendency towards comfort and routine.
Right.
Easy to get stuck in a rut physically and emotionally if you're not challenging yourself.
So it's not just external factors, it's internal too.
Absolutely. And that's what's so great about Ayurveda.
Yeah.
It's a framework for self-awareness and self-care. It's not about blaming external stuff. It's about understanding your own constitution and making choices that support you.
I love that it's empowering.
It is.
But it can feel overwhelming to know where to start.
Well, that's where understanding your dominant dosha comes in.
Okay.
It's like a personalized roadmap.
Okay, so let's say you've done a self-assessment. You have a good idea of your dosha. What are some practical things you can do?
Well, Ayurveda has a lot of tools, but diet is really fundamental.
Okay.
What we eat has a huge impact on our doshas.
Okay, let's break it down. What are some dietary tips?
For Vata, it's all about warmth and grounding. So think warm, cooked foods, healthy fats like ghee or avocado, spices like ginger and cinnamon.
So give Vata a hug, but in food form.
Exactly. And for Pitta, it's cooling and calming that fire.
Yeah.
So sweet, juicy fruits like melons and berries. Cooling vegetables like cucumbers and leafy greens. Avoid spicy fried or processed foods.
Anything that would add to the fire is a no-go.
Right, and for Kapha, it's lightness and stimulation.
Okay.
So warm cooked foods, plenty of vegetables, spices like ginger and black pepper.
So Vata comfort food, Pitta, cooling foods, and Kapha metabolism boosters.
Right, it's not just about what we eat, though.
Right. Of course, lifestyle choices too.
Exactly.
So some lifestyle tips for each dosha. What can we do to nurture Vata, cool down Pitta, and energize Kapha?
For Vata, it's routine and predictability, regular meal times, a consistent sleep schedule, calming practices like meditation or gentle yoga.
Creating that sense of stability.
Exactly. And for Pitta, healthy outlets for all that energy. Regular exercise is crucial, but choose activities that are cooling and calming like swimming or walking.
Avoid the high-intensity stuff.
Right. And for Kapha, it's all about shaking things up.
Okay.
Get that energy moving, so brisk walking, hiking, even dancing.
Get them out of their comfort zone.
Exactly. And it's not just physical, it's mental and emotional too.
Right.
Learn new things, try new hobbies, just switch up your routine.
Okay, so we've got all that, but are there any more specific Ayurvedic practices or remedies?
Absolutely. Ayurveda has tons of tools, herbal remedies, specific therapies.
Okay, tell me more.
One of the most well-known is Panchakarma.
I've heard of that. It's like a detox.
Yes, it's a powerful detox process that aims to eliminate toxins and restore balance.
What about those sensory therapies like Shiratara?
Yes.
Pouring oil on the forehead.
It's deeply relaxing and rejuvenating.
Yeah.
Particularly good for calming the nervous system.
Okay.
Promoting mental clarity.
It sounds amazing. So we've got all these tools, but I think real-world examples really bring it to life.
Absolutely. We have some fascinating case studies.
Perfect. Let's jump into those and see how Ayurveda makes a difference.
Let's do it. You'll find these really insightful.
Okay, so we've talked about how modern life can really mess with our doshas, and we've explored how Ayurveda can help us find that balance through diet and those lifestyle choices. But you know what really brings this all home for me?
What's that?
Those real-life examples, those stories of how Ayurveda makes a tangible difference.
Right.
Are you ready to dive into some case studies?
Absolutely. I think these stories are going to really resonate with you.
Okay, let's start with a case that highlights Vata imbalance. What have you got?
Okay, so we have a case study of a young entrepreneur. Let's call her Sarah.
Okay.
She was brilliant, full of ideas, but also constantly stressed, struggling with insomnia, and she was experiencing digestive issues.
Oh, yeah. A lot of us can relate to that feeling of being pulled in a million directions, never quite feeling grounded.
Right.
So how did Ayurveda help Sarah find her footing?
Well, she started by incorporating more grounding and warming foods into her diet.
Okay.
Swapped those quick cold salads for hearty soups and stews, and made sure to eat regular meals instead of snacking all the time.
So basically nourishing her Vata with stability and warmth.
Exactly. And on top of that, she started a daily meditation practice.
Okay.
Even if it was just for like 5 minutes each morning, just to calm her racing thoughts and create a sense of peace.
Those are such simple changes, but I bet they made a big difference.
They did. Sarah reported feeling more centered, more calm, her sleep improved, and even her digestion started to regulate.
That's amazing. It really shows how those small adjustments can be so powerful.
It does, and it highlights how important it is to tailor those adjustments to your specific dosha. Now let's move on to a case that illustrates Pitta imbalance.
Bring on the Pitta.
Okay, so this case involves a driven executive. Let's call him Mark.
Okay.
He was ambitious and successful, but also constantly on edge, struggling with anger management and prone to skin breakouts.
Ah, those classic signs of Pitta overheating.
Right.
So how did Ayurveda help Mark cool down?
Well, he realized that his competitive nature and drive to succeed were pushing him to his limits. So he started incorporating cooling practices into his daily routine.
Like what?
Like swimming and spending time in nature.
So instead of fighting that fire, he found ways to channel it.
Exactly. He also cut back on spicy foods and caffeine, opted for cooling fruits and vegetables instead, and he started practicing yoga, focusing on poses that promote calmness.
It sounds like he really embraced that idea of working with his Pitta.
He did, and it made a difference. His temper became less volatile, his skin cleared up, and he even reported feeling more patient and compassionate.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like he tapped into that softer side of Pitta.
He did, and it shows that Ayurveda isn't about suppressing our tendencies. It's about understanding them and finding ways to express them in a healthy way.
Okay. Are you ready for a Kapha case study?
I am. Let's see how Ayurveda helped someone navigate that tendency towards stagnation.
Okay.
This case involves a woman named Maria.
Okay.
She was kind and loving, but also struggling with weight gain, low energy, and a lack of motivation.
So she was experiencing that classic Kapha sluggishness.
Exactly. So she started by incorporating more warming and stimulating foods into her diet.
Yeah.
Things like ginger, black pepper, lighter grains.
So kick-starting that metabolism.
That's right. And she also started a regular exercise routine, even if it was just a brisk walk each morning.
Right.
Anything to get that energy moving.
It's all about breaking out of that Kapha comfort zone.
It is. And for Maria, that also meant taking on new challenges.
Okay.
Stepping outside of her routine, she signed up for a dance class, started learning a new language, even started volunteering.
Wow, she really embraced that idea of shaking things up. And how did those changes impact her?
Well, she lost weight, her energy levels soared, and she rediscovered that spark of joy and motivation.
These case studies are so inspiring. They really bring to life how Ayurveda can help us find balance.
They do, and I think they highlight a key point.
What's that?
Ayurveda is not about striving for some unattainable perfection. It's about understanding your own nature and making choices that support your well-being.
That's a powerful message. So to wrap things up, what's the one thing you hope our listeners will take away from this deep dive into Ayurveda?
I hope they'll walk away with a sense of empowerment and curiosity. Ayurveda offers a framework for understanding ourselves and the world, and while it might seem complex at first, even a basic understanding can make a big difference.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like having this ancient wisdom at our fingertips to guide us towards a more balanced life. So to our listeners, we encourage you to explore the world of Ayurveda and discover your own path to balance. Your journey starts now.
Happy exploring.
And that concludes our deep dive into Ayurveda and the tri-doshas. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. Until next time, keep seeking knowledge and keep diving deep.